Hello and welcome back to Julia Child. No, never mind. It's just Grandma DC. And those of you that know me know that I'm always doing something crazy if I have a little bit of time off because I like to experiment. So we talked earlier in another video about making Ezekiel bread. I looked up several recipes on this, and basically this is just a sprouted grain, whole grains, no gluten, healthy type of bread. And I got to thinking, well, what does bread consist of? Bread consists of yeast, not healthy. I don't want to use yeast. But some sort of a leavening agent. And that could be baking soda, baking powder. I know there's a difference between those two, but as far as grandmas are concerned, not much, other than the recipe calls for it. So I know there'll be a lot of people down below, oh my God, there's a world of difference. Okay, fine, here. And so you need a leavening agent, and you need a flour, salt. My grandma always said bread was no good without salt. And I like to use natural salts, Himalayan pink or sea salt. I just like that better. And something wet, a binder. Applesauce works really well instead of eggs. Eggs work really well if you don't mind eating eggs. And I'm thinking today we're going to experiment, and I'm just going to wing it as I go along. But what I wanted to start you off with was the beans are dry. The sprouted beans are dry. There they are. Aren't they beautiful? And you can probably hear them. That is the sound of dry. You can also hear Angus eating in the background. Pig dog. Romp, romp. Okay. Now everybody's curious. What does pig dog look like when he's eating all the food? Angus! Hello, are you hungry? Can you stop eating for a little while? Will you starve to death if you do? Hopefully, he won't starve to death if he stops eating. He's a dog after my own heart. I saw some vegetarian dog food the other day, but I can't do that to my dogs. Dogs need meat. I think so anyway. I mean, I might be a vegetarian, but I'm not going to do that to my animals. That's not what they eat. Okay. I'm going to lift the parchment paper up. And if there is, I'm just going to scoot some of these in here. Some of them are falling on the floor with everything else. Like that's ever going to get cleaned up. And see if I can dump those right in there. Will wonders never cease? I'm also going to do that. I was going to keep them separate, but then I thought, well, no, I think I will keep them separate, because why not? That gives a person a lot more choices. There's the garbanzos sprouted and dried. Now, some of you who don't watch a lot of YouTube videos are going, what was the point of sprouting them? Well, watch some YouTube videos, because according to people on here and other sources that I've looked at, when you sprout them, it releases more enzymes, it makes them more digestible, and it's a lot healthier. And it just makes sense to me that that's something that came alive, and I'm trying to capture that essence, and I'm just trying to be healthy as best I can. And I know I'm not perfect. I don't think any of us are perfect, but as long as we're trying, right? So I'm going to zip these up into powder, and I'm going to get back with you after that. Wow, that actually smells really good. The mung beans are kind of nutty and delicious. And yeah, I crushed them up in here, hulls and all. I kind of like that extra fiber from the green hulls. But I got to tell you something. My food processor doesn't process this fine enough. So, we're going to go to the trusty other blender and use the small blender attachment. And we're back. Okay, I did the same process I did with the mung beans. I put them in the big food processor and kind of knocked them down a bit. And then I put them in the little, for all intents and purposes, food processor. And took them down to as fine a powder as I could. Now, one of the tricks, you have to be really careful when you're using that little food processor because it gets hot real fast. And so sometimes, you don't want to do it in small batches because it'll get hot and stick to the sides. And so here's my sprouted mung bean flour. I think it looks gorgeous. And I'm really glad I separated these. I don't know why. Something just tells me maybe I should. And I think when you cook, you're experimenting with something which is what I'm doing. I'm not using a recipe. I'm just winging it as I go along. What sounds good? You know, you think of it and you think, well, that ought to work. You know, leavening and salt and all of this healthy ingredients. This ought to taste good. This ought to be good. And if it doesn't, what have you lost? You've had a fun afternoon and a little bit of time, right? I mean, it's better than working a job. Let me tell you. Because I work a full-time job, 14, 10, 12, 50 hours, I don't know, a day. Are there 50 hours in a day? I tell you what, I would swear on a stack of whatevers that there are. There has been at times. Little escapees there. Delicious. Okay. You got grandma that have false teeth. Is that rare? Okay, got my teeth. Okay. Now, you see this? This is my secret weapon. In here, I have more dehydrated bean sprouts. Well, these are mung bean sprouts that I sprouted long enough to have in salads. I've got some dehydrated tomatoes, peppers, onions. Those little scallions I was telling you about, I dehydrated. I've got some dehydrated kale chips, and they were dipped in a sesame type of a dressing. Really good. I just get tired of eating them real quick. I don't know, it's just not like a potato chip that you can just eat and eat and eat. Kale chips are like, yeah, that's really good. You can eat just one. No problem. But I mean, still, they're good for you. And let's see, what else do I have in here? Oh, dried peppers. I think anything that you've salvaged to keep, and you can dehydrate that sounds good in a recipe, and I think peppers, tomatoes. Oh, I've got a little bit of sage in here. And I would like to put some dill in here. I love dill in bread. I like sage in bread. Think of turkey dressing has sage in it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to zip these up the same way we did the powders. And then we're going to come up with something and figure out how to put it together. Leave a comment below. You are a crazy grandma. Scary. Okay. Back in a bit. Here it is. All ground up into a nice floury powder. I tell you, the smell is amazing. Get a little bit of that teriyaki sesame, those onions, those herbs, this has got to be good for you, right? Dehydrating, I love doing it because I don't have to can. I don't have anything that, you know, really could go bad. I try to dry it when it's still really, really good and fresh and some, you know, prepared anyway, and it just lasts forever. And you can so use it. Well, how do you use dehydrated food for? Well, just keep watching, and we'll show you. All right, let me get this out of the way. Move you over just a little bit so we can make some room for you to see. All right, now we're going to do a little bit of cleanup here. Very little. You know, Grandma's not really big into cleaning. No. All right. And by the way, happy Mother's Day today. I'm spending it with you all. My children were all too busy to come. They grow up, they leave, you know. And so then you had their mother on YouTube and them going, that is stupid. You're just stupid, mother. They don't watch, I could say that. Okay, let's get a bowl. And there's one more flour I want to make to put in this bread. Raw sunflower seeds. I just can't think of anything that would make this bread any better. And then we are going to use one thing, but I'm thinking it needs a little lightening up. And I've got gluten-free, multi-purpose, free flour blend. It's a blend of rice flour, potato starch, pea fiber, tapioca starch, and xanthan gum. I'm not going to use a lot of this, but I think it will help lighten up the recipe so it will raise better. So a little bit of, you know, processed stuff. It's not going to kill you. You got all this other good stuff to offset it. So, let's see.